I wanted to share some of my favorite drill press upgrades, so we'll go over all the things we'll cover on this project. First, there's a stable base cabinet that mounts directly to the cast iron base of your drill press. And that gives you storage galore for all your favorite accessories. I'm using this Great Infinity table and Pro dust collection fence, so it's got that nice cutout, gives you room for the chuck as well as provides dust collection through the fence. But I actually modified it a little bit and cut an opening in the table. And that let me add dust collection below the table, which I've always really liked. So if we slide that fence back out of the way a little bit, we can take a closer look at how that works. I've just shortened up these sacrificial inserts that normally slide in there. They're just 1/2 inch MDF. That makes way for this opening that I've cut. It's a 3x3 opening in the table itself. And below that, there's a magnetic fitting that captures all the dust. So there's nothing to mount or remove. It's just purely a magnetic fitting. There's a little flat spot right under the table, so that works perfect on this model. It's even got fold-up hooks on the side, and that's great for your safety gear or just for storing the fence when you're not using it. This was actually an article I did for Popular Woodworking magazine, so issue information will be down in the description box. We'll get our dust collection going here and let's see how it does. Not too shabby at all. It was pretty decent with just the fence dust collection, but you add that option of the table collection as well, and it's just excellent. Even if you were drilling to the middle of a wider board, I think you'd make table cleanup a lot easier, so it's just nice to have. This is the Laguna DP20, by the way, so any of the products I show along the way, I'll drop links down in the description box if you want to check them out yourself. And then the final 2 upgrades I did were to coat these clamps with some Plasti dip. A couple coats on that with a black Plasti dip worked great just to prevent marring up my workpieces. And then upgrading the chuck. Really the only thing I didn't like about this drill press from the factory was the standard bearing chuck it came with. So I added this nice large 5/8 inch Jacobs chuck, and it's a full ball bearing unit, so it works really nice. Here's what the little drill press cabinet looks like once it's assembled. For the most part, it goes together with simple dado joinery, although there are a couple pieces that attach just with pocket hole screws. We'll start the cabinet build like any other by breaking down the sheet good, 3/4 inch ply in this case. And you know, for years I used an old circular saw with just a long straight edge, and once you upgrade to a track saw though, it's a little bit nicer option. Of course, you get better dust collection and the saw rides along that track for even more accurate cuts. But either way, once you break down the sheets, you'll head over to the table saw to cut your parts to final size. Then you'll need a dado stack set to the exact width of your plywood that you're using. And I always like to use something to really control the cut, like stock guides or a featherboard works just fine. The key point here is that each dado you make the same cut in the opposite panel, the other side of the cabinet, before you move the rip fence again. And that way all the fixed shelves will line up nicely when the cabinet goes together. So with each new cut, just align the rip fence, make another dado, and then repeat it on the opposite side panel until you have 4 dados cut in each side. Then we'll move on to the rabbet cut that will receive the back panel. Now for this, the dado height is still 3/8. All we've done is added a sacrificial fence onto the rip fence and then just adjusted it over to make the right size cut to receive that 1/2 inch back panel. 1 cut on either side, and we're ready to move on. And then you can knock off the bottom corner of the cabinet sides, and that's another great use for the track saw. The size on that is about 6 inches high and 4 inches wide. Then you can move on to sanding and assembling the cabinet, even use a couple of cauls to make sure the center of the dado joints close up nicely. Then there's a few parts that we'll add without any fancy joinery, just pocket hole screws here. There's a couple of cleats at the top of the cabinet. Now we'll use those later to attach the top panel. Then there's also going to be a bottom panel, also goes in with pocket hole screws, but It's a really easy joinery technique, just using the Kreg Foreman here. Of course, there's smaller and less expensive versions, but this one puts me at a good height, and it's something I really like to use for building cabinets. So this one comes out more often than you would think, but lots of great options there. And then we'll turn our attention to building the drawer boxes with simple joinery, just using a dado blade at the table saw. Making the locking rabbet drawer boxes is super easy. You just need a 5/16 inch wide dado blade set to a height of 5/16, and you also use that same spacer to set your rip fence distance between that and the blade. Once all those are set, you can go ahead and make your cuts. They just look like this, and these will actually be the drawer sides. And I always like to use maple when I can for drawer boxes because it gives me that nice crisp joinery. Setting up to make the tongue on the drawer fronts and backs is super easy. The blade height remains the same on that 5/16 dado stack. All I've done is added a sacrificial fence and moved the rip fence over slightly to align the face of this wooden fence with the inside of the dado blade. And once I've done that, a little test cut will reveal how the fit is. So here it's a nice snug fit. We're flush on the outside of the drawer, but it's just not quite bottomed out in the little groove there yet. So we'll make a slight adjustment by tapping the fence over. And once your test joint looks like that, where the tongue is all the way bottomed out in that dado, why then you know you've got a good fit, and you can move on to batching out the rest of your cuts. And I just love the way that these joints go together on the first try, and you always get a nice snug fit. Yep, that looks pretty good to me. And the only thing left to do on the drawers now is to cut a groove for the 1/4 inch plywood bottom panel. I usually just do that with a combination blade at the table saw, making multiple passes until it fits in well. And the thing I like about these locking rabbet joints is that you really only need 2 clamps per drawer. So really convenient that way. Just double check square or your diagonals before you let the glue dry, and before you know it, these 4 drawers will be ready to be installed in the cabinet. We'll make up a small top panel for the cabinet, and for that we'll need some plastic laminate, and that will get adhered down to 3/4 inch MDF with contact cement. And once that's dry and pressed out, we'll go ahead and trim it flush with a laminate trimmer. And you want to make sure that your radius here is appropriate for the T-molding that we'll add in a later step. So I like to have about 2-inch radius as my minimum curve there for the corners. And from there, you'll just cut a slot in the edge that matches your T-molding and just tap it in place. No glue required for that. A pair of tin snips to cut it to length. And then for a part of cabinet building that I really enjoy, spray finishing. Here we're putting a couple coats of clear lacquer onto the drawer boxes, and that's pretty well all it takes. I'm using the new Fuji D6. This is a 6-stage sprayer. So when I'm working with the cabinet paint, I'll definitely want to set up a temporary spray booth with these zip wall pulls. 4 of those and some plastic sheeting does a nice job of setting up a temporary booth for you. Another system I really like is the 3M PPS pressure cup. This has a disposable liner, so it really makes cleanup a lot easier for me. We'll kick things off with a water-based coat of primer here. And this T70 gun is a pressure assist style gun, so you get constant positive pressure when you're spraying. Now with the D6 turbine, the main advantage there is you can spray unthinned latex or urethane modified paints, and that's a real advantage if you do a lot of cabinet spraying. Now everybody's got their own technique, and the more spraying you do, the more comfortable you'll get with it. But here the primer is going on to seal in the wood. Once that's dry, we'll just scuff sand it a little bit and we'll be ready for the color coats. I like to start with the edges, and then I'll come back and hit the face with another good pass, and that seems to get pretty good coverage when I'm spraying. There's a little bit of a trick when it comes to flipping the boards over, so I like to try to get the front and the back in one go. That just saves me from cleaning the gun that many more times, but it's a little bit touchy when you do that. But I tell you what, with a gun like this, you can really cover some ground, and it's so much quicker than trying to brush or roll paint on a mid-sized project like this. Now it's time for the color coat. This is a Sherwin-Williams Emerald in a Roycroft pewter. So it's a nice rich gray color. It's one I've really enjoyed using. And so we'll go ahead and hit that on all the drawer fronts, both sides, and we'll take a look at the process for flipping these drawers over so you can paint both sides in one go. It's a little bit dicey to do it, but the back side, if you have a couple dimples from your painter pyramid, it doesn't seem to make much difference. So if you leave the edges a little bit dry on these color coats, you can come back and give it a good shot from the front. And then I always finish up with that nice coat along the face for good even coverage. You'll be amazed how fast this system is. It's perhaps not as quick as an airless sprayer, but boy, it's close, and with a lot less overspray too. So that's one of the big advantages here with the T70 gun and the D6 turbine. Love that remote control too, it's so handy. But when it comes time for cleanup, it's the 3M PPS that really shines. Recover the paint you can and dispose of the liner. And that's what our little drill press cabinet looks like when it comes out of the spray booth. Next up, installing the drawers. And for that, I'll use these 14-inch ball bearing slides. These are just full extension, not the over travel version, so pretty basic there. And we'll mount those through the slotted holes first. Then just start dropping your drawer boxes in. Now here I have a 1/4-inch spacer clamped to the cabinet from the back, and that just is going to set my reveal so there's not any hang up between the drawer and that shelf underneath. But we'll go ahead and start setting these slides little by little. We'll use the vertical slots on these drawer slides to mount to the drawer boxes. Get one pair of screws installed, pull it out a little further, and get another set. Okay, looks like that one's operating pretty good. Add the spacer and we'll install the next drawer. And just remove your spacer, test out the fit of the drawer. If everything looks good, move on and repeat the process. And here's a quick tip to align your drawer fronts and easily mount those without using any double-sided tape anytime you're building cabinets. First, use a little jig like this to drill for your hardware, and once that's done, you can use those holes to temporarily mount those drawer fronts right to the drawer boxes. And I just like to use spacers to set a consistent reveal. Then just tip your cabinet up and you'll be able to open up the drawers and mount those drawer fronts permanently with screws from the inside of the drawer. And just about 4 screws per drawer will do the trick on that. Now with that drawer front securely mounted, we can remove these temporary screws. I've got a blocking attached to the back of the drawer so it won't move in and out on me. And from there we'll just finish drilling those through holes so we can mount our hardware. That's going to look nice with those little knurled details on the ends of these pulls. 5-inch pulls, so they're a little easier to get your hands on than some of the typical hardware you see. I like those. So that's a pretty nice, easy way to mount up your hardware and make quick work of this cabinet. And then just 4 furniture connector bolts with fender washers to bolt it up to the base of your drill press. Now this Infinity drill press table has really good above the table dust collection with that hollow fence, but I actually wanted to add below the table dust collection as well, and for that I'll just need to punch out an opening in this table, so we'll do that now with a plunge router. I'm just using a 1/4-inch spiral bit and a guide bushing. You can see I've already started to make my cut, but I'm actually using this factory recess as my guide. I'm not going to make a rectangular opening though, it's just a simple square opening, so I added this little filler block to act as the guide along this way, but if I get about a 3x3 inch opening in that, that'll work perfect for my setup. So that spacer block will pop right out, and now you can see the net result here. We still have a little ledge around that opening for the factory sacrificial insert there, but this will just help us add that below the table dust collection. I love this router too. This is that new DeWalt 620 mid-size plunge router, and it's totally cordless. So if you want to check that one out, I'll drop it down in the description box. Normally you'd have this dust collection shroud on there. I neglected to put that back on after I got my guide bushing installed, but with that on, boy, the dust collection on this router is really good. It uses that through the column dust collection just like the 618, which I've always really liked. Nice. And it looks like we got a nice clean cut on the back side too. This is laminated top and bottom, so I like that. The other thing I've done is added 4 threaded inserts there to permanently mount it to my drill press table. So now that we have that opening cut in the table and the dust hose installed below, the idea is you can shorten up your sacrificial insert and have it closed off, so you just pull exclusively from the fence dust collection, or you can slide this back to open up dust collection at the front as well. Either way, if you happen to drill a through hole, that dust collection below will automatically pick up the dust. Well, I'm sure in the history of drill presses, somebody has done it better, but I'm just kidding. Nobody's done it better than that. I guess some might argue that dust collection isn't all that important on a drill press, but I like to have the shop clean, and I think it does make a difference in terms of accuracy. Every time you set your board to the fence, if you have to clear chips and debris away, it does hinder accuracy a bit. And I just like the fact that everything is collected, especially the fact that this is going on an IVAC system, so all I'll have to do is just turn on the drill press. Everything else will happen automatically. Yeah, I must say, I love it. You can use a full-size insert or these smaller inserts for the dust collection. Works great. Not bad indeed. Well, that about wraps it up on all my favorite drill press mods. And remember, you don't have to have a fancy machine for these to work. In fact, choosing just one of these mods can make a big difference on how your machine operates, whether that's upgrading the chuck, adding a lower storage cabinet, or going for that above and below the table dust collection. Remember to check the links below for issue information from Popular Woodworking, as well as all my favorite tools and upgrades for your drill press. So if you need a little better storage at the drill press or just adding some dust collection, I would highly recommend these mods. Yeah, that's it.